I've had a bit of a disaster, would you believe? I just about finished recording the hour-long episode when everything went wrong. I've lost it. Well, it's not lost, it's still there. The episode is still on the computer. It's not funny. Why am I laughing? This is a disaster because it's now, well, we're nearly there. I've got to publish this, ready for you on Sunday. What am I going to do? I've got to start again, and it was an hour long, and I was so pleased with it. Anyway, no good looking back. I better tell you what's going on. The flag, we are now, by the way, 2:10 Friday afternoon, so I think I've got time. I just don't know what happened to that. We've got quite a bit of a breeze from the south, which is rather nice. It's about 15 degrees out there at the moment. That's under the patio roof, so that is cheating slightly. So double that to 30, add 30, 60 Fahrenheit on the patio, which is rather nice. I know it's the middle of January still, obviously, but we are getting there. I hope all is well with you. I'm just looking up the humidity because you want to know that, don't you? Where would you be without knowing the humidity? 93%, there we are, 1008 millibars on the barometer. So that's all the weather business dealt with. But what a shame I've lost the entire episode. That's never happened before. I don't know what went wrong. Anyway, there we are. Where was I? I just forget what I was talking about now. I'm going to have to get my mind together. Give me a minute or two. One thing I was talking about was holidays abroad and holidays here in the UK. I remember my first holiday in Spain, my first holiday abroad. I went with my sister and her husband and this other chap. His name was Ray. So two Rays and my sister and her husband. We went up to Gatwick Airport and it was all exciting, of course. We'd never flown before. We'd got our passports and our luggage. Excellent fun. Eventually got onto the plane where we landed the other end. I forget where it was in Spain, probably Alicante or something. It was one of these package holidays. Now, I don't like being told what to do. And there was this holiday rep. Do you know the holiday reps? Do they still have those on package holidays? I don't know whether... Yes, you still have package holidays, surely. This was back in the early 70s, of course. And this lady in her uniform with her clipboard, she said, right, everyone, all go to your rooms, book in and go to your rooms, then meet me back down here in the foyer in an hour and a half, and we'll have a meeting. So off we all trundled to our rooms. I didn't want to have a meeting. I wanted to know where the bar was. Forget the meeting. Anyway, we went back down and met her an hour and a half later. We'd all put our shorts on and things. It was lovely and hot, beautiful weather. I think it had been raining when we left England. So that was good. Then she started saying, now, there are various excursions. Now, what that was is it's a coach trip. You all pile on a coach and you're all driven somewhere. Then you have to go and enjoy whatever it is. Then you're all driven back on the coach to the hotel. Well, we did go on a couple. I went on one. It was a hog roast somewhere, and I didn't like that at all. It was awful. There's this huge hog thing going round on a spit over this fire. The smell was dreadful. The whole thing was awful. People were loving it. The whole thing was awful, but people were loving it. They were tucking in, enjoying and drinking. Is it sangria they pour all over your face? They try to pour it down your mouth, but it ends up all over your face. Anyway, another excursion we went on was to a nightclub, a kind of disco and a bar. And it was outside in the evening. Of course, it's dark, beautiful summer evening. It's hot. Everyone's enjoying themselves. And they had kind of bench seats on this inside part where we were. And Ray, this chap that came with us, he decided to spread out on this long bench, padded bench, rather nice, and use it as a bed. He went to sleep in the middle of a disco. You know, we're in Spain having a disco and he's gone to sleep. Of course, that was a laugh. We're taking photographs of him. But the whole thing was, it was too organised. I don't like being organised. Right, we're going to do this. Now, tomorrow we're all going to meet here at 10 o'clock. The coach will be here at 10:15. Be here at 10. Anyone's late, well, you won't get on the coach if you're late. He won't hang around. All this business. I just wanted to go and have a look down the beach, have a look down the local shops, perhaps get on a bus or something to the nearest village or just go and explore. I didn't want to go on a coach load of people. You know what I'm like, don't you, by now? My brother-in-law had a bad stomach. We could see him up in the hotel room. We're all in the sea. I can't swim, so I'm paddling. We're in the sea and we're waving to him. I was saying, come on, come down here. He felt ill. If you're listening, I expect you remember that. It wasn't a bad holiday. First holiday abroad. It was quite good fun. I just didn't like the organisation. I don't like hotels. I would rather go to a sort of self-catering. I don't know whether they had that sort of thing back then. When Trish and I go to the Isle of Wight holidays, it's all self-catering. She loves cooking, it's her hobby. And we can have our meals when we like. We can have what we like. We don't have to have a set hotel menu. Breakfast starts at 7, ends at 9. If you're after 9 o'clock, hard luck. But for a package holiday back in the early 70s, it was quite good fun. And a lot of people started doing that, of course, rather than going on holiday in England, in the UK, wherever they are, Wales, Scotland. They went to Spain, of course, because you were not guaranteed the sun, but you were pretty sure that you could have a nice sunny holiday. I did go to Spain a second time with a girlfriend I had at the time. I remember people saying, take your own marmalade because they don't have marmalade in Spain. So we took marmalade for breakfast. I think they had toast. The hotel was nice. The staff there were very nice and friendly. It was a good holiday. Our room was lovely. The only thing that did happen, one day it rained. And when I say it rained, it was torrential rain. It was a flood. The hotel, you go out of the entrance and there's a few steps down onto the road. The road was a river, a white water. You could have done your white water canoeing or something on this river. And it was all day like that. A river. We couldn't leave the hotel. So we just hung around the bar, as you do, had a few drinks, went to sleep in the room, came back downstairs. No, still flooded. That was Lloret de Mar, just south of Barcelona. Look on the map. I'm looking on my map at the moment, actually. Where's Spain? I can't even find Spain. Oh, there's Barcelona. Lloret de Mar, just down from Barcelona. A lovely holiday, but again, not something I like doing. I wouldn't do it again. I only went on 2 package holidays to Spain. The other time I went to Spain, Trish and I went when my parents moved out there. I think we went 2 or 3 times. We stayed with them, hired a car, no hotel, no being told what to do. Well, apart from my mum telling us what to do. Oh, when I went with this girlfriend, we got on a train which ran along the seafront up to Barcelona. We thought we'd go and have a look at the city. And this train, it was right on the seafront, which was nice, but it was very rough old carriages. And there were a load of people on it. It was very hot and sticky. And this is true. You won't believe this sort of thing you see on films. This woman had a couple of chickens with her. And someone else had this piglet thing on the floor. There's animals on the train. I'm thinking we got on the farmyard train, the wrong one. But it was all part of Spain, wasn't it? That's what they did. Just because we don't have chickens and goats and pigs on our trains. Doesn't mean to say other people can't. Why not? If you're going to Barcelona, perhaps she was going to sell her chickens at the market and the piglet in Barcelona, then come back with some money, pesetas as it was then. So that was all quite good fun, but I was pleased to get back to England, though, I must admit. It was with the same girlfriend that I went down to Devon, to Hope Cove. Have a look on the map, Hope Cove in Devon. We went down there not once, but 2 or 3 times in a year. It was lovely in the same summer, 2 or 3 times. Lovely down there. And the A27 road, a lot of it now is the M27 down to through Portsmouth, Southampton and all that. But it was the A27. And starting off here from where we are, it was just a country lane. No dual carriageways, no motorways, nothing like that. A country lane. And it was lovely. Heading off early morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. I'd go and pick her up from her house, her parents' house. She got her luggage and I was ready to go. We'd filled up with petrol. Off we go, 4 in the morning in the summer. Beautiful. The sun's coming up by 4:30. It's almost daylight. Motor off down to the West Country. Oh, army man. Lovely. The first time we went to Hope Cove, we got there about lunchtime. I think we stopped on the way to the New Forest and whatever we did. We got there about lunchtime, went into this little pub. We'd never been there before. Looked like a lovely place. Got chatting to the man behind the bar and we said to him we got to look for somewhere to stay. We haven't booked anywhere. You didn't book in those days. You just take off in your car and go on holiday, which was great. Well, not take off. That's what planes do. drive off. And he said, oh, you want to see Helen? I think it was Helen. You want to see Helen at a house down the road. After we left the pub, we went down to this house that he'd mentioned, knocked on the door. This lovely lady answered, in her 40s. She was lovely. Oh, come in, she said, come in. Where are you from? And we said, oh, we've come from wherever. She was chatty and she said, now you want a room? We said, yes, we want a room. She said, you can stay one night, you can stay as long as you like, stay a month if you want. I said, I wish we could. I'd love to stay a month. I'd like to move down there. Hope Cove, have a look. Oh dear, wonderful little place. I wonder what it's like now. I hope it hasn't been ruined. So many places are ruined, aren't they? So we stayed there. I think we stayed there for a week. In the morning, it was bed and breakfast. So in the morning, we had a lovely breakfast. And do you know what she did? She made us a packed lunch for when we went out. After breakfast, we go out exploring. She'd give us a packed lunch. Sandwiches and some fruit and bits and pieces. No extra charge. She just sort of threw that in. She really was lovely. We went back there 2 or 3 times. Never booked or anything, didn't phone her or anything like that. We just turned up. Oh, it's you two again. She said, come in, I've got a room for you. I think she used to keep our room, especially for us, in case we turned up. But it was great. The pub was lovely. There was a coastal type walk up a hill. Really nice. And I must admit, if I have to go on holiday somewhere, I don't want to go abroad. Even back in those days, I went to America. I went to Los Angeles for 3 weeks. That was all right, but 13-hour flight, 12-hour flight going out, 13 hours coming back on this jumbo. I just wandered around. I looked out of the window. I sat down. I watched a film. What was it? The Eiger Counter? No, the Eiger Sanction? I don't know what it was. Some film I watched. I was just so bored. And I remember thinking, Los Angeles was lovely. I loved it all there. The beach, everything. The bars were fantastic. It was lovely. The weather, everything. But it was the flight. I don't mind flying. I love flying. But not for 12 or 13 hours. It's just awful. Then, of course, there's all the airport stuff, and I just can't be bothered with all that. I'd rather get in the car, chuck a few bits and pieces in. Trisha's made a lunch, flask of tea, a thermos flask of tea, and we motor off down to the West Country somewhere, stop in the New Forest, share our lunch with the New Forest ponies. No, you're not allowed to do that. They're quite friendly, the ponies, but if they see you eating a sandwich, they'll come over, they'll have it. They don't mess about. I want that sandwich. I know it's yours, but I want it. And they won't go away. So give them a bit of bread and get back in the car, because you're not supposed to feed them. But it's lovely going on holiday in this country. We have got passports. We got them a few years ago because our passports ran out and we thought, well, we're not going to bother to replace those. But then we had to, what was it? We had to do some ID, whatever it was we were doing. We had to have passports. So we've got passports now. I think they've run out in about 5 or 6 years' time. We're not going abroad. You watch now, I've said that. Something will happen. Oh, once, daughter number 2 said, can you go to the south of France? This was to Trish, not me. And Trish said, well, I can. Yeah, well, what for? Well, can you go down there and collect one of your granddaughters? It was her daughter. Was down staying with mother-in-law. Long story. Trish had to fly to the south of France to, I forget where it was exactly, to pick up one of our granddaughters and bring her back here. And I phoned her work and I said, Trish won't be able to come in today. She's having breakfast down in the south of France on the Mediterranean. And of course, this woman, I knew the woman, she laughed and she said, what? Having breakfast down there? What are you talking about? And I explained. I said, as we speak, she's on an aeroplane heading down to the south of France to pick up a little granddaughter. And she was little. What was she, 4 or 5 years old? Something like that. That's a long story. Won't go into that. By the way, for those of you that might be a bit technical or radio amateurs, I'll tell you what happened to that episode. I know exactly what happened now. I've got 2 computers in here. One's over there with the radio stuff for radio nerd things, and this one is here for audio and video podcasts and all that stuff. This one here, sometimes I leave it on with the podcast recording up on the screen. I'm halfway through. I'll come back to that. I go over there, chat to people on the radio, and the transmission, the RF it's called, affects this computer. I left this one on yesterday while I was chatting on the radio over there, and this one doesn't like it. What is it? They don't like it up 'em, Mr. Mannering. Don't panic, don't panic. Well, this one didn't like it up it. It's corrupted my audio file, so that's the end of that. I knew about this before, and I've always turned this one off. If I'm going on the radio over there, firing up the powerful transmitters over there, I turn this computer off. And I forgot. So there we are, user error. My fault entirely. Anyway, there we are. I'm rabbiting away, 10 to the dozen, as they say. Is it 10 or 6 to the dozen? That's another daft expression. I've no idea what it means. It means fast. I'm rabbiting away because I want to get this done. Tricia is away at Butlins as we speak, probably having a 5th glass of vodka or gin and tonic. And here I am, enjoying myself chatting to you. Again, I've never lost an hour's episode. Anyway, let's not go back and mope over that. This is a good word, mope. We don't want any moping, crying over spilt milk. Just going back to holidays again, my mum and dad would take us 4 kids to Wales. He'd hire a caravan. You had to book that in advance, of course, letters and phone calls. So he'd book a caravan in Wales, and we used to leave home about 4 in the morning. And of course, as kids, I think that's where I got it from. As kids, it's exciting. Mum and Dad wake you up. It's dark, you know. Come on, we're going. Come on, get dressed. Have a wash and get dressed. We're going. And of course, it's exciting, is it? We get in the car. We head off to Wales. Wonderful. I remember it was 6 of us, and this small caravan we stayed in. It was awful. This was the 50s. So, you know, to be fair, it was the 50s. They didn't have Wi-Fi. They didn't have colour TV in the caravan. I think my dad took a radio. I wonder whether it was a transistor. It must have been a very early transistor radio, because they did come in the late 50s, didn't they? Anyway, it was nice. Wales was nice. I remember him saying to us lot, right, listen, take notice, do not go near that water where that waterfall is. You will fall in. It's very slippery. Do not go. And we're going, okay. Yeah, okay, Dad. Yeah. What happened? He went out there, slipped and fell in. Of course, we thought that was hilarious. It wasn't that deep. It wasn't flowing fast. There was a waterfall, but he got soaked. So we were just shrieking with laughter. Trish and I have been on holidays abroad. We've been to Spain. We've been to Portugal, Cyprus. Been all over the place like that, which is okay. You know, it's good fun. Ibiza. That was nice. Ibiza was nice. Went there with daughter number 2 and her husband, plus at the time her 3 kids. She's got 4 now. That was all good fun. Oh, and daughter number 3 as well. Yeah, a whole family sort of gathering. Went to this place in Ibiza, up a hill. Beautiful swimming pool near a forest. Yeah, I love the forest. As you know, I love the woods. It was absolutely perfect. Everyone loved it. A lovely place. Lovely weather. But again, it's the airport. And of course, the grandchildren were quite young. We had a buggy. We had to try and get this buggy thing on this bus, which went out to the aeroplane. Oh, dear. And we had a special pass where you can get help, because we had little children with us. And that didn't make any difference. We showed someone that we got a pass for help. Oh, well, there's no one available. Oh, okay, that's a waste of time then. But it was a great holiday. Some people obviously love travelling, and others, like Tricia and myself, we don't like travelling. A friend of mine, he was in the Navy as a radio officer, and he's been all around the world. And apart from the Navy, he's been around, he went to Morocco on a motorbike with a few friends. They're roaring all around Morocco, and they went all over the place. He's been everywhere in the world. Loved it all. It's just not my thing. We're all different, aren't they? As I'm always saying, each to their own. Whatever floats your boat, whatever gets you through the night, and all the other sayings and expressions. Anyway, raise rants at protonmail.com. I haven't mentioned that yet, have I? If you want to say anything. I expect you're going to say I'm rabbiting far too quickly, ramming everything in to try and get this episode done. I'm not at all. I'm totally relaxed. Actually, I'm not. I've got things... I'm not relaxed. I am relaxed. I've got quite a lot to do while Trish is away. I've got some jobs I want to get done. I want to tidy up my radio room here. I've got some new equipment that I've got to sort out. I'm varnishing my wooden box. Have I told you about the wooden box for the Spy radio? The radio was used... This is a replica that I built of a 1940s Spy radio that they had in a little suitcase. MI6 agents used it. Resistance people behind enemy lines in France and wherever. They used it. It sends and receives Morse code on shortwave, and I've built this replica. And I've just had to build the wooden box to put it in. The whole thing then goes into a small suitcase. But the wooden box I've built, and it is about the right size, miraculously. I did listen to the chap at school. Measure once, cut twice. In carpentry, woodwork at school. Measure once, cut twice. No, it wasn't that, was it? It was measure twice, cut once. Oh dear, what's all these noises going off now? So the box actually is good. The radio fits in it. It's had 2 coats of varnish. I did the wood stain. I've given it 2 coats of varnish, and it absolutely stinks the house out. Tricia was saying, what's that awful smell? Well, it's wood stain and varnish and stuff. So I've got to get on with that. I've got various jobs to do. I just didn't expect my almost hour-long episode to disappear. But not to worry. No good crying over spilt beer. Was that the deliberate mistake? No, it wasn't. I have to be careful now. Oh, by the way, did I tell you the deliberate mistake last Wednesday on the midweek message? Do you know what the deliberate mistake was? There was no deliberate mistake. That was the deliberate mistake. No, it wasn't. I've got to be honest. I must tell the truth. I forgot. I got halfway through the midweek message and I thought, I must do the deliberate mistake. I'll think of that in a minute. And then I forgot. So off it went on Wednesday. It went out to everyone and you're all listening to it. And I expect some of you are thinking, well, where's the mistake? There were no mistakes in it, not even accidental mistakes. So there will be a deliberate mistake in this episode. I've either done it, or I'm doing it as I speak now, or I will do it later. But it will be in this episode. And do you know what I have to do? I have to write it down because I forget what it was. I've done that several times. What was the deliberate mistake? I can't remember. Oh, I know what I was going to mention. Someone talking to me the other day said, this shed thing, this shed cave, man cave business with sheds, when did that start? He said, did I have a man cave earlier in my life? I had a shed. When I was 14, I had a shed in the garden, which was my radio shack. We called it Radio Shack then. Well, we call it Radio Shack now. This is my shack. But I didn't have a man cave as such, where someone may have turned a shed into a pub. You know, they've got the bar, they've got everything there, the optics, the whole thing. It's a real pub in a shed. I don't know when that started. Where did the term man cave come from? I've no idea. All I can think of is in the 50s and 60s, radio hams had a shack, which was normally a shack, like a shed in a garden. These days, if it's indoors like mine is, you still call it the shack, even though it's a room in the house. So I wonder whether you know where that came from, man cave. Do you have a man cave? Or do you have a woman cave, where you meet your friends and drink vodka and gin and things like that? Jukebox. A friend of mine's got a jukebox with all the old records on, which is rather nice. Trouble is they're huge. You need quite a big house for a jukebox. So let me know, do you have a man cave or a woman cave? Raise rants at protonmail.com. Just going back to holidays briefly, the only thing is with a holiday in Britain is the weather, of course. Down in Devon, wherever, Somerset, lovely down there. Anywhere down the West Country, Dorset, if you go down there for a week or a fortnight and it does nothing but rain and wind and horrible, then you just can't enjoy it. It's just awful. It really is luck of the draw. My hairdresser once, he went to Spain for 2 weeks. He came back and he was cutting my hair and I said, how was your holiday? He said, it rained every single day for 2 weeks. He said, the last day we were in Spain, we were heading for the airport, blue sky, the sun came out. He said, I'm never going to Spain again. I mean, that's not fair because it's really unusual. My parents once went to Cyprus and they said they had snow. For the first time, apparently, according to the people that live there, they had snow for the first time in 20 years. So even going abroad somewhere as far south as Cyprus, it can still snow. And I think the weather here, if I remember rightly, they had snow, and the weather here, we had lovely sunny days. It was beautiful summer, and it snowed there. On these news channels, they often show the weather around Europe, and I always have a look at Athens in Greece. And at the moment, what was it the other day? I think it was 16, which isn't too bad, but it's a bit chilly, isn't it? And a week or two ago, it was 10. It was warmer here than it was in Athens. When Trish and I went to Cyprus a few years ago, it was too hot. Far too hot. There was what was it? Not the Valley of the Tomb, the Valley of the Tomb of the Kings or something. We went down there underground. We went down there obviously to explore, but to cool down more than anything. It was a lot cooler underground. When we came back out again, the Tomb of the Kings. I think it was the Tomb of the Kings or something. I'll look it up later. But when we came back up to the surface, there's the blazing sun and it was red hot. I said to this taxi driver, I can't stand this heat. He said, you should come back in August. I forget what month it was. I think it was September, June, July, August, September, towards November. And he said, yeah, you should be here in August. That was far too hot for both of us. At least it didn't snow. Mind you, that would have made a nice change if it had snowed one day. Shall we forget holidays now? I've been going on for ages about holidays. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. It's now 25 minutes into the episode. What I'll do, I'll finish off tomorrow, which is Saturday, because I've talked myself hoarse. Is that right? Is that an expression? Talk yourself? No, you talk the hind legs off a donkey. What on earth does that mean? Who conjured up that one? Talk the hind legs off a donkey. Stone the crows. Well, who conjured up that one? Stone the crows. Talking hind legs off donkeys, stoning the crows. On that note, I will see you tomorrow morning. I'm going to have a break. Good news. It's Saturday morning. No, that's not the good news. The good news, the good news is it's 10 degrees out there. It's 7 o'clock in the morning. 10 degrees out there, which is what? 20, 30, 40, 50 Fahrenheit. And there's a wind from the south. The man on the radio this morning, the weatherman, he said there's a slight breeze from the south bringing warm air with it. And it certainly is bringing warm air with it. The wind direction really does affect the temperature here. Obviously, if it's from the north, from the Arctic up there, it's really cold. If it's from the east, it's cold. The west isn't too bad, but the south is lovely, coming up from the Mediterranean. I've had a good night's sleep. The house is very quiet. I'm here on my own, home alone. I should make a film, shouldn't I? Home Alone 3. No, I don't want burglars trying to get in and ransack the place. Just going back to holidays for a minute. I was chatting to a friend of mine yesterday. He popped round with some radio bits and pieces, and we were talking about holidays because he's not booked anything. He doesn't really have a holiday. And we were wondering whether it's because people don't have a hobby, especially when you're retired. You've got nothing to do, so, let's go on holiday. You have a week somewhere, a couple of weeks. You come back a week later. I'm bored. Shall we go away for the weekend? This is if you've got some money, of course. Shall we go away for the weekend? That's a good idea. Yeah, let's book a break somewhere. Then after that, what do? You're not into gardening. You don't have any sort of hobby. Not into radios. Not into collecting anything. So what should we do? Let's go on a holiday again. I don't know. That is a good point, isn't it? That wind definitely is from the south. I'm sorry I keep on about the wind, but it's beautiful out there. Well, I say beautiful. It's not. It's the middle of January. I went out to feed the squirrels, and the air is, it's relatively warm, comparatively warm. All these big words, stone the crows. This friend of mine that popped round, he does have a hobby. It's amateur radio, and he doesn't go on holidays. His wife doesn't want to go on holidays. She's happy to stay at home. She likes gardening. So I do think that is a good point. If you're bored at home, nothing to do, let's go on holiday. Even without a hobby, say I didn't have a hobby here. There's so many jobs to do, gardening jobs. I suppose, though, if I wasn't into gardening, then I'd just pave the whole lot and perhaps have a couple of pots out there, and that's it. Then there's the fences, the fence down the bottom of the garden I noticed the other day. That's breaking up. That's got to be dealt with. And I love all that sort of thing. The shed roof still leaks. Stone the roof. It still leaks. I can't find where the water's coming in. I must get down there as soon as we have a dry day. It's going to rain today, apparently. Sunny this afternoon, but I need the roof to dry perfectly. Then I'm going to get a watering can and water various bits of it to try to find out where the water's getting in. It's not just a few drips, it's almost flooding in. Email from Lynn. Hello, Lynn. Nice to hear from you. She says, did everyone have cats when you were a child? Well, not everyone had cats, Lynn, but most people did, I think. Is it a British thing? I'm not sure. This is one of Lynn's questions. Is it a UK thing that cats are everywhere? Does that happen? I don't know. Do you have cats in Australia and America? I know dogs are kind of worldwide, aren't they? But cats, that's a good question. We had a cat when I was a child, Tinker, his name was. Here we've had a cat, Bibby. He passed away. He pooed all over the garden. He passed away. Then we looked after, I don't know, a couple of cats for daughter number 2. Sasha, she ran away, so that was a lot of good. And I forget the other one's name, isn't it awful? He was all right. We've never had a dog. My parents didn't have a dog, never had a dog. We had tortoises when I was young, 2 tortoises. We had a rabbit. Looking back, I feel sorry for the rabbit. He was in a hutch, which wasn't big enough, which was the way back then, in the 50s, the 60s, early 60s. That was the way. People just put a rabbit in a hutch and left it there, perhaps let it hop around the garden now and then. But of course, you have to be careful because it might escape. And if it does escape, then it would die anyway because they're not wild rabbits. And looking back, that poor thing stuck in that hutch. I forget his name. Blackie, was it? Blackie? Tricia had a cat when she was young called Sooty. I don't know about cats in other countries. What I do know about cats, I'll be careful here because there are millions of cat lovers out there. I like cats, they're lovely, but I don't like the pooing in the garden. And why is it that other people's cats, they never poo in their own garden, they go to other people's garden? We've got the trail cam and we've got 3 different cats I've seen come into our garden at night, and the fox. I don't know what the fox is doing, he just pokes around. He sniffs around the lawn, and I think what he's doing is the squirrels bury the monkey nuts, the peanuts in the shells. They bury them in the lawn, dig holes everywhere. The fox, I think, is looking for the nuts. He doesn't dig the lawn up, fortunately, but I do like the wildlife. I'm not so keen on pets now that I'm sort of mid-70s or coming up mid-70s. When we had the rabbits, I remember brother-in-law saying, that's a lot of work for Tricia. It wasn't work for Tricia. She loved it. Cleaning out the rabbits, they would help, while she's cleaning out the old hay and things like that. They're both there sniffing around, getting in the way. She loved it all. It wasn't work. It was more of a hobby, I suppose. She loved all that. I think they were the best looked after rabbits in the country. They had a brick-built hutch that I built 14 feet long. It was about, 3 feet high, plenty of room there. They had an outside run, which was about, more than 14 feet by about 5 feet. We used to call it bunny mansions. They had underfloor heating I put in one section for the winter. Not hot, but just warm enough, just warm enough so they could just have a rest there on the warm floor. They were spoilt, but they deserved to be spoilt. We would have rabbits again. We've often looked at each other, and if we see a rabbit on the telly, look at each other. We miss our rabbit. Yeah, we miss our rabbits. Shall we? No, we better not. Of course, if you're a holiday goer, as I've been talking about, you're always off on holiday. You don't want any pets, even a cat. You've got to get someone to come in and feed it. A dog, of course. Someone has to feed it and walk it, unless you've got the money to put the dog into kennels while you're away. But I don't think the dog likes that, does he? Or she? I don't know. So if you're a holiday goer, not really a good idea to have pets. Daughter number 2 had what I called an Aristotle. But it wasn't an Aristotle. It was not an aristocracies. I can't remember. You know what I mean. A funny-looking sort of fish type thing. Not Aristotle. I'm getting worse at remembering things. I think that passed away in the end. Oh, the cat we looked after for daughter number 2, yes, Sasha and Oscar. That's it. Oscar was all right. He was laid back. He chilled out. When we took them both back to her house after their holiday, that's when Sasha ran away. Oscar just looked around like, oh, I'm home, wandered indoors, and that was that. But Sasha, she was neurotic. She really was. One of our rabbits, why am I telling you this? One of our rabbits, Jack, bless him, he was only 6 months old, and he would shake. He'd sit there shaking. He was so nervous. I reckon he'd come from a rescue, the RSPCA rescue place. That's where we used to get our rabbits from. They were rescue rabbits, and Woody, he was called Woody because he was found in the woods. Someone must have thought, don't want the rabbit anymore, damn nuisance, put him in the woods. Well, he's not going to survive there. Luckily, someone found him and took him to the rescue place. That's where we got him from. Then there was Hetty. She came from there. Anyway, I won't go through all of them. But Jack, though, 6 months old, he obviously had a traumatic upbringing. only 6 months old, and firework night, we tried to protect them from the noise, but it was too much for him and he just died. And of course all we've got now is young Gary, and he's fine, he's doing well, still hibernating. It wasn't Aristotle, was it Extostotle, something like that, this funny looking fish thing. Mind you, he probably looked at me and thought I was funny looking. Anyway, yes, Extotle or Axel Stottle, you know what it is. I will look it up later. I probably won't because I'll forget. Hello, Neil. Neil emailed me. Nice to hear from you. Neil says that I was talking about villages, that's right, pubs disappearing. He said, if you take away the village post office and the corner shop, which people do, they've disappeared. If you take away the local bus service, which has happened in a lot of cut-off type places, if you take away the vicar and the local church, if you take away the railway station, which has happened with Dr. Beeching back in the old days, he says, then if you take away the pub, which is happening, he says, then is it a village? It's just a bunch of houses or cottages. There's nothing else. So could it be called a village? That's a good question, Neil. I don't know. If you take everything away and all you've got left is a few houses, then I don't know. I suppose it's still a village technically, but it's a village without a heart, isn't it, as he puts it. Good point, Neil. Thanks for contacting me. Raise Rants at protonmail.com if anyone has any comments on that. I've just had a thought, Neil. Add to that, take away the village school, which has happened in quite a few villages. Take away the little doctor's surgery, right? Take that away. Take away the local bobby. They used to have a little police house near the village, didn't they, or in the village. Take that away. You literally have nothing left, apart from a few houses. It is such a shame because all these things that are happening, not only village life like that, but in towns and wherever, it's all happening very slowly and people don't realise, I don't think, they don't notice. It's like a child. Someone has a baby, oh, that's a lovely little baby. After 6 months, you haven't seen her or him for 6 months. Oh, hasn't she grown? After a year, wow, look, a year old, hasn't she grown? When you're with the baby all the time, you don't notice that so much, you know what I mean? Of course you know what I mean. I ramble on, and I'm sure you know what I mean half the time, which is just as well because I don't. No, of course I do, I know what I mean. So these things happen slowly, don't they? They'll take this away, then they take that away, slowly, so you don't really notice the change. It's only when you look back over the years, the decades, like I do, to some, what was it someone said to me? Some 1950s utopia or something. Utopia. It's only when you look back that you think, well, hang on a minute, everything's changed. Where's the local library? That's gone. The local cinema. Oh, we have 3 cinemas. They've gone. Everything's disappearing. What we have got are loads of barber shops. We've got lots of barber shops here now. Nail bars and things. What is a nail bar? They do your nails. A nail bar. Never heard of such nonsense. What a load of Aristotle. I think it's a good example of things creeping up on you. Cycling on the pavements. In the old day, when I was a boy in the 50s, you cycle on the pavement on a full-size adult-type bike. You'd get nicked, you get pinched, as they used to say. Local copper, he'd be on his bike, he'd see you, and you get pinched. You weren't allowed to cycle on the pavements. But now, it happens all the time. Because it became more popular, didn't it? The roads are busy, there's cars parked everywhere. More and more people cycle on the pavements, and it's now, well, virtually accepted, isn't it? And parking on the pavements. Back in the old days, you didn't park on the pavement. You daren't put one wheel on the pavement. You know, the cops would have you. You can't park, that's for pedestrians. You're nicked. Meep, meep. You can't do that. But now it's, well, just about every road there are cars on the pavements. In fact, in London, they draw white lines on the pavements, don't they? You can put your 2 wheels on the path, but not over that white line or something like that. I have seen them when we last went to London, which would have been the last time I ever go to London. I can't remember what it was. We went to see the Churchill War Room, was it? Something like that. Absolutely lashed with rain. We got soaked through. It was awful. Then we came back on a coach. I hated the whole thing. Here's the thing, again, when I was a boy, you're out at night on your bicycle, child, adult or whatever, if you don't have your lights on your bicycle, you're pinched. local copper sees you, that's it, you're nicked. These days, very, very few people have lights on their bicycle. Hats off to those people that do. I know there are a lot of proper cyclists out there. They don't go on the pavement. They don't go through red traffic lights like some of them do. They have the lights on at night. They've got a high-vis jacket. They've got a helmet. They do it all properly. But unfortunately, there aren't many of them. At the times we've been out at night, well, not many times, because you know me, I don't go out at night. Stone the crows. Werewolves out there and things that go woof in the dark, monsters. I like to be at home in the night. But if we do have to go out, the amount of bikes you see with no lights and they're wearing black clothing is dark. I'm just amazed that people don't get knocked off their bikes more often. Perhaps they do, I don't know, we just don't hear about it. I remember in the old days, my dad was driving, I was with him in the car. We went around the corner into a junction, and luckily he wasn't going fast, and he hit this cyclist. Well, when I say hit, just sort of bumped the cyclist. He didn't even fall off his bike. He was waiting at the junction to come out. And my dad stopped and he said, "Are you all right?" "Oh, yes, I'm okay." And my dad said, "Well, where are your lights? You haven't got lights, I can't see you in the dark." He said, "I have, it's a dynamo." Now, a dynamo is all very well when you're cycling along, the lights are on, but when you stop, the lights go out. Bit of a daft idea, really, when you think about it, isn't it? Mental. Who invented that? What they should have had, I suppose they didn't have rechargeable batteries back then. Well, they did, but they'd be a huge thing. You'd have to have a motorbike battery on the back saddle thing, and then the dynamo would charge that possibly, then that would keep the lights going. I don't know. What really does amaze me about these bad cyclists, and I'm not saying all, obviously, as I've said, but the few bad cyclists, I'm amazed that they don't think, hang on a minute, if I've got no lights on, it's pitch dark, I'm wearing black, I could end up killed. They don't seem to think that. I don't know, it's all rather odd. I used to have a bike. I had a bike up until about, 30 odd years ago. I used to cycle around everywhere. The roads got really busy. I didn't go on the pavement. I didn't do that. The roads were getting busier and busier. And in the end, I thought, no, I walk. It was only when I went into town or wherever I was going locally. Now, my brother-in-law, my sister's husband, he cycles everywhere, or he used to. He'd cycle miles around. Just been out on a 50k cycle ride. What? He did. Then he got an electric. You still got that, Paul? The electric bike. Do you use that? Of course, that's cheating, isn't it? I shall get loads of emails now. No, it's not cheating. It's just for going up hills. Happy days. Of course, we've got the summer coming, so bikes with no lights doesn't matter till about, 9 o'clock in the evening. The clocks change next month, of course, don't they? End of next month, which is good. Dare I say it, touch wood, the computer's behaving itself. I'm sure it was that transmitter I fired up. I was talking to someone running quite high power, and of course the computer, it's got leads going from the mixer to it and from the microphone to the mixer and all speakers. All the wires act as aerials and they pick up the signal and it corrupts files and things. Now, North Carolina's Sun knows all about that. The only answer is do not have the computer running while I'm transmitting. Nothing to do with ranting about the old days, but it seems here in Britain, in the UK, we might be banned from Twitter, X. We might... I don't know whether that will happen. You've obviously heard the news. So I've got to set up a VPN. What is it? Virtual Private Network. Whether I use X or not doesn't come into it. I don't want to be banned. Even if I don't use X, I don't want to be banned. It's weird, isn't it, the way things are going? Anyway, we're talking about the old days when I was a boy. Wow. Not the modern times now. Imagine back then, things being banned. Talking of things being banned, though, back then, BBC Radio, Radio 1, they used to ban records. A record would come out which was possibly a little bit risque, the lyrics were a bit dodgy, and they'd ban it. And of course it became a well-known thing. If your record was banned by the BBC, the sales went through the roof, and it was number one. So of course, Pick of the Pops, Top of the Pops, they played the number one record each week. Well, they couldn't because they banned it, and it was number one. It really was a weird idea banning the records because it just made people go out and buy it. I remember doing that. There was a record band, I forget what was it, Come Away Belinda or something. some war-type, a protest-type record. There were a lot of protest records back in the 60s by various sort of lone female singers and things, and other people, of course, and the BBC banned them. The record I bought that was banned, I bought it in London. The lyrics, there was a girl singing, "Mummy, mummy, come and see what I found while digging in the ground." Photographs of little girls like me. And the mother then sang back saying there were lots of little girls like you before they had the war, and it sort of went on like that. There was Frankie Goes to Hollywood, wasn't there, more recently? Relax, Don't Do It. Do you remember that one? That was banned. Some of them they didn't ban. Now, what was it? Captain Pugwash. This is interesting. Captain Pugwash, which was a children's cartoon programme way back in the day, that was very, very, what's the term, tongue-in-cheek. There was Captain Pugwash on the boat, then he had his crew. There was Seaman Staines, okay, think about it, and there were various other members of the crew, all with similar dodgy type names, and no one picked up on it. It was put out on the telly regularly. It was only decades later that people thought, hang on a minute, that's not right, you can't do that. I've just looked it up here, Captain Pugwash. Oh, BBC between 1958 and 1967. There was Master Bates, Seaman Staines, Roger the Cabin Boy, and they were the crew of the famous Black Pig ship. Apparently the series creator, John Ryan, successfully won retractions and settlements from the Sunday Correspondent and the Guardian newspapers after both newspapers claimed that the show's characters did indeed have smutty names. So even back then when I was a boy, things weren't always wholesome and clean, were they? Upright pillars of the community. What? Don't you know when I was a boy? What? Why do people say that? This posh people thing, it's always this what? There was a chap, I've got to tell you this, there was a chap when I worked in the radio and TV workshop, Colin, he worked in the shop, and it was some sort of weird affliction he had. I'd go into the shop and say, "Oh, Colin, could I..." What? He wouldn't let me finish the sentence. What? Could I take the TV from the... What? You couldn't finish a sentence. Eventually I'd say, "I need the TV from the shop window for whatever." And then he'd complain and start shouting, What? You can't do that. What? Take my TVs. Happy days. But I've never understood that. I watched To the Manor Born last night. Trisha's at Butlins, of course, and I thought, well, I don't know, what shall I do? I went on the radio, chatted to a few people. Then I thought I'd watch To the Manor Born, Penelope Keith. And they were having a shoot, where they shoot birds with double-barrelled 12-bore shotguns and things. And they were doing that, posh people from other estates. What? A jolly good shoot. What? I don't know what all this what is. Do you know? Can anyone enlighten me? Raise rants at protonmail.com. What? Trisha just phoned from Butlins. They're all okay over there. This afternoon they're watching, is it Jason Donovan? What a shame I'm stuck here on my own in the peace and quiet. Last night as I was on my own, I had a beer. I went mad. 1 whole beer, 1 pint of real ale. Goodness me, whatever next? I've got to cut down on all this boozing. I might have another beer tonight. I just don't like drinking beer too much anymore. I used to in the old days. I'd have half a dozen pints. But now, I don't know, 1 pint, and I think, that's enough. Can't be bothered with all this. Right, we're coming up to the hour. I hope I don't lose this episode. That was a disaster, wasn't it? I woke up in the night thinking about that. Where's my episode gone? It got corrupted. I saw an advert on TV last night. This person on there said, "All calls will be answered by real people." I think I've mentioned this before, haven't I? Real people? How things have changed. There's another advert. Have you seen... Well, you've got to be in the UK to see this, of course. Radiators. Radiators rock. There's this chap shouting his head off about these radiators that you can buy. There's a rock group there with guitars. They're making a row, and he's shouting about these radiators. Goodness me, do you know, that makes me think I wouldn't buy one of those because of the shouting. There was that other double glazing advert. Do you remember that? Double glazed windows. This chap's outside pushing them down. Buy one, you get one free. Buy one, you get one free. All right, calm down. Why do people... I know I go on about this probably every week now, but why do people have to shout? on these adverts on the telly. They shout, not just the adverts, they shout all the time. Everyone shouts. Newsreaders shout. Weather forecast man doesn't shout. I suppose he's nervous. He's saying, well, it's going to be dry this afternoon, and he's thinking, fingers crossed, what if I'm wrong? Michael Fish, 1987. Of course there's not going to be a hurricane. Talking of being quiet, I'm going to have a quiet today. I think daughter number 3 is popping in before she goes to work. I forget why. I do know, but I can't remember. So I'm going to have a quiet day. I'm going to fiddle around in my radio room, my shack, tidy up a little bit in here. I don't like things on the floor. Trip over them, that's the trouble. If the weather does stay like this, it's supposed to rain, but they're probably wrong. If it does stay like this, 10 degrees, a little bit of wind from the south, I might try and get 1 or 2 jobs done in the garden. I shall see what happens. I haven't added anything to raiserants.info for a little while. I've been mucking around with radio. I won't go into that because it's boring. Apart from Susan. Hello, Susan. Hope you're all right. 73. I have a secret code, us radio amateurs. 7388. That's for you, Susan. 88. You'll know what that means. Hope all's well with you. Hope all is well in Seattle, California, Rob, Australia, people everywhere. I did make a list of where people were, names and the countries they were in, so I could sort of pretend that I'm up with everything, you know. I know who's listening, I know where you live, but I lost the list. Now I haven't got a clue. There was a chap, was it Norway you lived? Who was it? You'll know who you are if you're still listening. Years ago, I'm sure you're in Norway and you walked through the forest on your sort of daily walk with headphones listening to me banging on about rubbish. Now I forget your name. We've got Susan in Germany, the English teacher. There's Bob, of course. Bob, you're in California, aren't you? Doreen, Clive and Amy in Seattle. I do remember some of them, but there are too many to remember. So what are you going to do today? Anything interesting? It's the weekend, so I wonder what you've got planned. And talking of holidays, have you planned your holiday? Ours, of course, is booked, the Isle of Wight. Have you planned your holiday? Let me know, raiserants@protonmail.com. I might pop out today and get a little bit of wood to finish off my wooden box I'm making, because if we ban X here, then Donald Trump will put tariffs on, and if we get wood from America, the price will go up. I only want a little bit of wood, 1/4 inch square, something like that, just to put inside the box. So I shall do that before old Donald puts the prices up. Do we get wood from America? We probably do, because you've got a lot of wood there, haven't you? You've got massive forests and, what is it, the Californian, is it redwood? Those huge trees. I saw a photo once in a book when I was a child. They made a tunnel through the tree so cars could drive through the trunk. I don't know whether that's genuine or not. Californian redwood, isn't it? Wonderful trees. North Carolina sun, hello if you're listening. He's always popping up into the mountains where there's forests and things, lovely streams and wildlife. Well, bears. Not sure about the bears. But it must be lovely, though, to live close, or fairly close to mountains and forests like that. Amazing. As you probably know, I'm only a mile away from the sea. And I don't like the sea. I don't like boats. I don't like the beach. I don't like any of it. I mean, I don't hate it. It's okay. You know, we do go down to the beach sometimes, but I don't know. It's just all open and barren and bleak and horrible. I like the woods. Shame we don't have mountains. I was going to say shame we don't have mountains in the UK, but we do. We've got Ben Nevis, is it? We've got Snowdon in Wales, Snowdonia. I've been up the top of Snowdon, the mountain. I went up on a little train, and would you believe it? It was cloudy. We were actually in the clouds, so you could barely see your hand in front of you, let alone the view, which was a shame. I was looking forward to that. Some people walk up there. They must be mad. I couldn't walk up there. Well, not now. I probably could back then. Then there was the Great Orme in Wales. Oh, the Little Orme, I think. The Great Orme, that was nice. Went up there when there was a thunderstorm, drove up the top to look at the storm out at sea, and it was getting closer, and my hair stood up. My hair stood up on end. It was getting closer. It's lucky I wasn't struck by lightning. I got in the car and drove down as quick as I could to get out of it. Not a good idea to go and stand atop a hill, how about that, atop, when there's a storm very, very close. Not a good idea at all. I've just been looking, you know I've got a list of jobs. I keep it here on the table, on the desk thing. My £3 pine table that I got from an auction, the list has gone. Oh dear, I've lost the list. Oh well, I can't get on with the jobs then, can I? As a result, I expect Tricia's taken it and she's adding things to it, probably taking it to Butlins with her, and she's having a think and writing things on my list. It does seem to be getting longer. The more things I tick off, the more things appear. Anyway, I'm looking everywhere now. It's disappeared. Not to worry. We're coming up to the hour, so that's good. After the disaster yesterday of losing the episode, I shall make sure that doesn't happen again. Now, what am I going to do? I'm going to make a cup of coffee first of all. I hope all is well with you and yours. If you're in the southern hemisphere, of course, you're enjoying your summer, aren't you? If you're in the northern hemisphere, if the earth tilted just a little bit, if we just went a little bit south, oh, here we go again, you know what I mean, don't you? If it tilted a little bit, so we were looking closer at the sun, we'd have lovely weather here. It would be lovely. The trouble is it might start wobbling. If we tried to tilt the earth, it might start wobbling, you know, and get out of control and then go flying off into outer space somewhere and we'd all fall off. No, we don't want to end on that note, do we? Let me think of something bright and positive to end on. I know, politics. Keir Starmer, Donald Trump. No, stop it. Sorry about that. Wash your mouth out. Right, a positive note. The spring is coming. The bulbs are coming up. I haven't seen any daffodils yet, but the bulbs are coming up. We've got crocus popping up. Is it early? No, it's not early, is it? We're over halfway through January. I've got 2 hyacinth plants, which I bought, £5 for 2, in glass vase things. Vase, if you're in America. That is the correct way to pronounce it, isn't it? V-A-S-E is vase, or vase. It's not vase. It's not V-A-R-Z. Anyway, let's not get into English and pronunciation and all that stuff. Be here all day. And I've got things to do, like make coffee. Be good. If you're bad, don't get caught. I must stop saying that. No, seriously, don't get caught if you're bad. I must make some pickled onions. Now there is a funny thing. Why did that just come into my mind? I want to make some pickled onions, but I can't do that until kind of autumn time, early winter. I'll tell you why that came into my mind. I was about to say scrumping season is almost upon us, where we can go scrumping for apples and pears, stealing fruit from people's orchards. I'm inciting robbery now, aren't I? And then I thought, hang on, no, there aren't any apples yet, are there? That's at the end of the summer, isn't it? So then I thought about the end of the summer, that is when I must make the pickled onions, which I forgot to do earlier, last year. Anyway, who wants an hour? It's 57 minutes and 27 seconds or something. Who wants an hour? I'm going to ramble on because many of you have said, don't care what you talk about. I just like listening. So, okay, I am the noise in the corner of the room, blah, blah, blah. We've got to get our car sorted out, actually, before we go to the Isle of Wight, service, MOT. Do you know we haven't washed the car? I reckon that, well, since we last went to the Isle of Wight, so that would be last May. We just don't wash the car. Isn't it awful? When I was young, when I had my first car and my second car, I looked after them. I was always cleaning, polishing. The MG I had with the leather seats, I was always polishing that, the wooden dashboard. I used to love that. The wax polish, not this spray rubbish, you know, proper wax polish. And polish all the woodwork in there. Actually, that was a bit of a waste of time. I was thinking this the other day. I'm not saying this now just to get the last couple of minutes done. I've got a tin of spray polish here, and it says ideal for woodwork and all that. The trouble is with woodwork, a lot of it is varnished. The old TV cabinets in the old days we used to do, we'd polish them with proper wax polish, but they were varnished. It's like a gloss finish. So you're not polishing the wood, it's like polishing glass. So why use wood polish? Do you see what I mean? I'm saying that again, aren't I? You know what I mean. It's true though, isn't it? If you've got proper wood, where the polish soaks into the wood and protects and restores the wood, fair enough. But if it's varnished and you spray it or put wax polish on it, it doesn't do anything to the wood. I've never understood that. Okay, it is coffee time now. Coffee time. I've had breakfast. I had marmalade on toast. I don't like a big breakfast because I'm still trying to lose weight. Nothing's happening. I get on the scales and nothing's happened. Or I'll lose 2 or 3 pounds. Oh, that's good. A couple of days later, it's gone back on again. I don't know what's happening. As I said, be good, be bad, don't get caught and all that. And I shall see you on Wednesday with a midweek message. Hopefully the computer will behave itself. I'm sure it will. So I shall see you on Wednesday. Don't forget to email me, raiserants@protonmail.com, if you've anything to say, anything you want to broadcast to the world. To the world. We haven't had any shout outs. Do you remember we were shouting out to various different countries? Shout out to Fred in Romania and Ian in Greece, Anne in Lithuania. We don't do any shout outs anymore. It's up to you. So let me know if you want a shout out from your country somewhere. Thanks for listening as always. It's just over an hour. Take care. I shall see you on Wednesday. Bye bye for now.